Yeah.
I think we both know why it is super important for communities to be involved in something like this, but can you express it to us why it's important for people to want to be a part of what Fragments of Hope is doing?
Well, I like to brag that we have the largest living barrier reef in the world. Stop
Period,
that.
yes. Welcome back to Tea Talk and Tourism, where we sip stories and spill the tea on Belize's sustainability. I'm your host, Brianna Boyd, and today we have Fragments of Hope's very own Miss Monique Vernon, tour guide, boat captain, and ocean advocate. From replanting corals to restoring entire reef ecosystems, Miss Monique and her team at Fragments of Hope have been helping rebuild the Belize Barrier Reef system one polyp at a time. So grab your favorite brew, maybe something sea inspired, and let's explore how communities are keeping our reef alive for generations to come. So Monique, tell us, how are you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for asking. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking, and thank you for being here with us. This is actually very exciting for me. I don't know if you could tell, but the smile on my face is ear to ear. But yes, can you tell us a little bit about what Fragments of Hope is doing, just for the people that don't know?
No problem. Fragments of Hope, first of all, is a community-based organization. So it's very small. They're in Placencia, and they basically been focusing on restoring, or nowadays people say rewilding, corals in our barrier reef system.
Rewilding?
Yes, rewilding.
I've never heard that term before.
It's just a new terminology people are using in light of the climate crisis we're dealing with. It's like we're not restoring anymore. We're trying to rewild corals.
Okay. Maybe we can get into that a little bit more while we're talking. But when it comes to coral replanting, can you kind of get into the nitty gritty in the most easy to digest way or terms on what it actually is?
Sure. To make it really simple, you're basically taking a fragment of a coral. We work with the acropod species, so that's
Okay.
like the elkhorn, the staghorn, or the fused staghorn corals. We fragment a piece, and we take cement that you build your house with. We put a little blob underneath the water, and stick it in the fragment, and we just monitor it as it grows.
I know you're in Placencia.
Yes.
So you guys focus in like the South Waterkey Marine Reserve area, or is it?
We work in a number of different areas. We have a specific criteria that we follow, but we are in Inner Keys, marine protected areas from north to south. So we have all the way up in Bacalar Chico, down south to False Key, Placencia area.
So you guys are based in Placencia with different chapters throughout Belize, like different ports throughout, or is it just you guys?
We're based in Placencia, but we restore the reef across Belize. So we don't only, because we're in Placencia, we're gonna restore the reefs right there in Placencia. We're working in reefs across Belize.
Okay, so we're not limited, we're everywhere. I love that.
Yes.
What does this process look like for you guys? How many of you are on the team? Like, how do you?
It's a really good question. Fragments of Hope is actually a really small team. Lisa Karn is the founder and executive director. She started it back in 2006 after Placencia came across the Hurricane Iris, which was a Category 4 hurricane, and it devastated the entire peninsula, especially the acropod species that were flourishing at the time before the hurricane hit. And she thought it would be great to restore those species, and it was history since. But the only thing that hasn't really changed is the size of the organization. It's mostly her husband, and then she hires community members to help her when she needs the help.
Are you guys tracking resilience in a specific way? Like after you do the planting, how are you guys tracking the upkeep?
Well, we have a number of different methods that we use once we restore corals. We have a system of, we call it mosaic, photo mosaic.
Photo mosaic?
That is basically taking a camera. You could use GoPro, or you could use those expensive Nikons, whatnot. You take it and you swim across a specific plot that you create in the water. So you create a plot that you want to focus on. And over the years, you take many hundreds of photos. You swim in that specific plot over time, and we stitch together all the photos that we take to create a mosaic, and so it gives us a 3D image of over time how it was and how it is to date.
So you guys sound like you're doing a lot. Sounds like a lot with a little bit of people. Are there any way that you guys are getting the community involved or even youth involved in the initiatives that you guys are putting forward?
Yes, Fragments of Hope, they're small, but they're very impactful. And so one of the things that they do is they do outreach and education. As a matter of fact, when I started with Fragments of Hope back in 2018, that was my first job that I had with them, my position, being an outreach and education officer, going into schools, showing the kids the reef, because surprisingly a lot of kids haven't even seen the reef before, and providing them with not only facts, but we leave them with a little coloring book so that they could take home and learn, the different species of fish, corals, and, little fun facts about the ecosystem that we're working in. But besides that, we also offer trainings to Belizeans. We try to educate and empower people in Belize to learn how to monitor corals, survey corals, looking at the their health, if they're bleaching or not, and that way we get more people on board for us to go out and check specific reef system if they're doing their health, how they're doing.
How does a Belizean get involved in trainings like that?
Yeah, so Fragments of Hope often create like a flyer or something to let people know what we're up to. But they have a Facebook page, and they even have TikTok. They have an email address and website. You can email them at info@fragmentsofhope.org and get through with Lisa Karn, or you could email Lisa directly at lisasinbelize@gmail.com and get in touch, express your interest. Yeah.
I think we both know why it is super important for communities to be involved in something like this, but can you express it to us, why it's important for people to want to be a part of what Fragments of Hope is doing?
Well, I like to brag that we have the largest living barrier reef in the world.
Period. Yes.
The fact that I get to work with an organization that is making impacts on our reef, I cherish those moments, and I try to let other people know, about the work that we're doing so that they can get more involved, because a lot of people might not know, but the corals that we are working with are actually critically endangered, meaning if it continues to go as is with temperature and the climate, they can eventually become extinct. Not only that, but Belize is heavily dependent on tourism, and Placencia is a tourism hotspot, and we have the reef right there. And if we lose our reef, we're also going to lose economy.
Yes,
we're going to lose livelihood. Yes, and so it's very important what we're doing, and we're just trying to empower more Belizeans so that we can make an even more greater impact in Belize.
I love that. Like, what do we even say after something like that? You literally said a mouthful, and everything is very factual. Very true. We need the community involved. We need youth. We need people to understand the value of why it is you guys are doing what you're doing. So, based off of your years, you said that you've been here since 2018. If I'm correct. What is reef resilience to you then? What has been based off of the initiatives or the planting that you've already been a part of? Maybe you can share a success story with us about your experience with Fragments of Hope.
It's like a bittersweet type of thing, because you put so much effort into restoring the reef. For example, like at Laughing Bird Key, where it's our control site, is where we kind of first started our whole restoration initiative. The corals, once Hurricane Iris hit that area, the coral cover within Laughing Bird Key was down less than 6%, and over the years, Fragments of Hope had taken it from 6% to over 60%.
Wow.
But unfortunately, we're in this climate crisis, and it wasn't till 2023 that the corals started to eventually decline. And so right now we're more focused on mapping corals, looking for corals that are more resilient to the heat. So those are corals that are more on near shore, that are living on just on the edge of the water, that are more tolerant to heat, and also getting more Belizeans involved to help us just monitor what exists, because what we used to focus heavily on restoring, but it doesn't make sense to restore corals in a stressed environment. The chances of mortality is high in that case because normally we don't restore corals during hurricane season or during time when they're bleaching. And so because they've been bleaching endlessly, we can't really restore them like we want to.
Yeah.
So right now we're just focusing on mapping and getting those specific corals out, replanting.
How much of Belize's reef would you say have already been restored?
Prior to 2023, we've restored about 3.5 hectares of reef across Belize. Yes.
3.5 hectares?
Hectares.
That's crazy.
Yes.
That's actually a lot. Yeah. That's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's unfortunate that we're going in this little trend with the weather, with the climate.
Yeah.
Because we could have made even more impacts replanting. But right now, I feel like some of those sites are unfortunately declining. So we're kind of have to start from the beginning, start from scratch, and look, like I said, look for those corals that are better resilient to the heat.
What does this mean for long-term ecosystem recovery? With the climate change happening, with all the things, all the factors that are leading to climate change, what does this mean for our reef?
Well, it's not really good news, honestly, because we have a motto where we say more corals equal more fish.
Yeah.
Simple, just as on land, if we have more trees, we'll have more birds. It's the same thing when it comes to the reef. If we have more corals, we'll see more fish. And if we don't have that corals, we're gonna see a decrease in the fish population, and that's gonna be less food on our plate and less money in our pockets. And so that's the reality that we're kind of moving into. But we have hope. That's where Fragments of Hope. And we're trying our best to, like I said, map those corals to just buy time.
I think we talked a lot about livelihoods. Well, you just mentioned, how the ocean impacts, or the barrier reef impacts, Belize livelihood, being with food, with fishing, with making money. For me, is tourism. So what would you like to share about how this is important to upkeep tourism in our country?
It's like a give and take because while tourism is important for us, it does come with its little flaws. And one of the biggest thing for us is, or what we've seen at least, is like trampling of the corals because, some people don't really know how to snorkel or they don't really understand certain things that you're not supposed to touch or stuff like that. Or sometimes excessive sunscreen can cause the corals to die as well. But one thing I could say about the tourism industry is I like the fact that we work with tour guides within the area who are very knowledgeable about what we do. And I believe the tour guides also go under I believe 4 months training before they could even get their license to become a tour guide. And so we've partnered with them in a way to give them information, that way they can go out there and share with their guests not only the good things but the reality of things.
That's why I think it's really important that when we're training our guides, we're training them not only with the information of what to talk to our guests about, but how to guide them in protecting our resources so that when the next guests come, they could appreciate and experience the Belize Barrier Reef, because I've been diving and snorkeling since about the age of 7 and 12, 13 years old. So I do my own trending behavior tracking and needs assessment when it comes to my saltwater key.
Yes.
So I understand the importance of it. Is that something that you guys talk about in your training?
Yes, but you mentioned saltwater key, and it kind of triggered me just now because I was actually we were just at saltwater key for a week, from the 9th to like the 16th or 17th. We were monitoring coral spawning.
Yes.
Like I said, they're critically endangered, so we wanted to see if they're even reproducing, and well, that only happens after the full moon in August for us in Belize. Every other place is different, right? But for us, it's then. And so we would go in the water at night for like an hour and a half, 2 hours thereabouts, to just be there with our flashlight to see if the corals would release their eggs. And they did this year, and that's very exciting for us because that means that there's another chance that these corals can, grow and hopefully survive.
This episode of Tea Talk and Tourism is brought to you by our friends at Bricks and Books Cafe. More than just fresh coffee, soothing teas, and sweet treats, it's a community space. On the second floor, you'll find their bookstore, filled with hidden gems. And on the third floor is their gallery space that you can rent out for special events and gatherings. So the next time you're in Belize City, make sure you stop at Bricks and Books on Regent Street, where sips, stories, and spaces come together. What does that look like for you guys? Like, imagine being, I'm going on an evening snorkel. What are you gonna go do? I'm gonna watch some coral spawn. Like, how likely is that? Is it every time I go on an evening snorkel or evening dive that I'll be able to see corals spawning?
Actually, no. So it's, like I said, it's in August after the full moon. It's normally 5 or 6 days after the full moon. We've noticed a trend. But also it's normally you wanna go between like 8 and 9 at night. And it basically looks like Christmas underwater because the coral release these eggs and it's just dark and there's little small pink gametes that you see floating around. It really does look like Christmas underwater.
Oh my God, that sounds so exciting.
Because these corals have millions of polyps and each polyp is releasing a gamete. So it's just beautiful. And I wish other people could see it in real life.
Talking about other people seeing it, is there a way that we would be able to incorporate that into tourism experiences, like having guests come in, since it is around a certain time? Is there any way that we could, I guess, link the two in conservation and tourism?
That's a really good question. I would like to think so, but the way about it, I think we would need to discuss. I know, for one, it's not in person, but one way that we are trying to get more people to see and understand what we're doing is using virtual reality.
Okay.
So we would go and document it, and then you get to see 360 view of it once you have on this virtual reality.
You should have brought it with you
headset.
today.
I know, right? But that's the goal, and that's one way I could see tourism being incorporated in it. Yeah.
Do you guys have any bigger projects coming up? Maybe, well, I know you talked about the spawning. Is there anything that you guys are planning post-spawning, or is there anything coming up in general?
Well, we recently got a CORDA grant to look for, to be able to better document and have more like a database where people can access the information that we have, whether that be on the spawning, the coral bleaching surveys, or any of the mosaics that we produce, just having those information available for the public. And then we're also trying to get a national, like a restoration plan, like a national coral restoration plan in order so that we can know how to move forward when it comes to corals and restoration on a national scale. So we have some stuff in works. More trainings coming up. We want to train folks how to dive. If they already have a dive certification and they want to increase it up their level, we have a program coming up hopefully early next year, as well as other training in fish identification and coral reef monitoring. Where
would people be able to find that information once it's put out?
We have most of our information on Facebook. You could visit our Facebook page, and most of the information is already right there. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. We love the digital.
Yes.
How easy things are now.
Yes.
So, you mentioned VR.
Yes.
How does that tie in to tourism? Is it tourists using the VR, like the virtual reality experience, or is it more promoted to the youth to understand the value of our oceans? Sorry.
It's both. Anybody really who would want to know and learn more about the work that we're doing, I think the virtual reality is an easy, simple, and fun way for them to be interactive and see for themselves what we're doing without actually having to get on a boat and go in the water.
Do you guys have any goals? What are your long-term goals when it comes to conservation with youth engagement, community engagement? and potentially tourists.
One of the goals is to ensure the success of the acroporid corals that we're working with. They're critically endangered, and we would hate to see them extinct, especially knowing that they used to thrive heavily in southern Belize. And we also want to get more females involved, more so because oftentimes when you hear about marine spaces or any space really, it's often mainly male dominated, and so we're trying to let females understand that this is something that they can also do. As a matter of fact, when I was in high school, that's where it all started for me. They came to the school there, and it was history since.
Yeah, that's how it worked out for me.
And, I didn't realize you could plant corals. And then they take measurements on a whole. We actually have several nursery beds too out at Saltwater Key. It seems simple, but it's a lot happening.
Is there anything that we should be looking forward to when it comes to Fragments of Hope in training? Anything that up and coming right now, or is everything kind of still?
Because we're mostly grant based. We're dependent on grants and donation. We have had stuff in the works, so we have several things lined up, but we're just waiting on the grants to come so that we could actually do it. We were supposed to do a couple training this year with the coral monitoring and the diving, but we're still waiting on some funds. Once those come in, we'll definitely get more people involved. We've trained over like a couple hundred folks already, Belizeans, in what we're doing, and we want to get more people out there to do what we do.
That's really impressive.
But everything will be on Facebook, and so you could just visit our website as well.
With that being said, is there anything that you would want to leave in the minds of the public? Like, if you could say anything right now to resonate with anybody watching or anybody sitting in this room, what would you say to us?
If we want the longevity of to see these corals over time for generations to come, I would indulge people to look into volunteering with us, donating, ask questions, see how you could become more involved in what we do. It's as simple as not polluting, because plastic pollution does impact corals as well. Overfishing does impact corals. So however way you feel that you could help, we would appreciate that.
So we talked about a lot in just however long we've been sitting here. We talked about coral resilience, replanting, training, tourism, local tourism, as well as getting the community and youth involved in everything that Fragments of Hope is doing. I love that you guys are community-based. Thank you so much for coming all the way up here and talking to us today. It means so much. I was really, really excited for this.
Well, thank you too. Thank you too. Honestly, I was really excited for this, and I've never been on a Tea Talk before, so thank you. It's quite an honor to be here. I appreciate it. And I hope that today's Tea Talk gives people more of a broader view on what we're doing, and hopefully we could get more people involved in what we're doing.
That brings us to show today with Monique, Vernon, and Fragments of Hope, reminding us that even the smallest fragments can rebuild an entire reef. Next time, we'll keep the spotlight on innovation with a special feature on eco initiatives by Hamanase Adventure and Dive Resort. Their general manager, Mr. Lance Roberts, joins us to share how a resort can protect paradise while welcoming the world. Until then, stay curious, stay sustainable, and let your thoughts brew a little longer.